The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson showed us something last night that Canucks fans thought was going to be on the regular about 5 years ago. So, the big question now, are you believing in Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we get into it, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And again, we're not here without you. We're not here without Locked On. We're also not here without those sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Things are never linear, especially in the world of sports, and especially with the trajectory of Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser. And that's what I want to kick off the show talking about today to start, because I wrote this article. It doesn't feel like this long ago, but I wrote an article in late 2018 during Elias Pettersson's rookie season when I was with Nucks Misconduct about how Boeser and Pettersson could become one of the best forward duos in the NHL. And even at that time, we're already one of the best forward duos in the NHL. So let's look at where they were at the time, what happened, and can they still be one of the most electrifying forward duos in the NHL? Or are we just getting too drunk off of one game? I mean, let's be real. It's been one game since Brock Boeser has returned. It's looking like the latter, but let's give the Canuck fans reason to believe and look at Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser, what they've done together, holding hands, skipping down the hallway. Apparently that was the report coming out of the dressing room last night. Quinn Hughes also had some pretty nice things to say about Brock Boeser. We'll get into some news and notes as well as we round up the show here about Canucks making another signing. Aquilini, where does he rank in the NHL ownership rankings? A little bit of an update on JT Miller and all that and more coming up. Kyle Bowen may join as well, my co-host. But man, oh man, we were both drunk off the blue and green last night when we did the postcast on Locked On Canucks because Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser, not only did they reunite, but they got on the score sheet. They helped the Canucks have an emphatic 6-2 victory over the Winnipeg Jets. And look, the Canucks are going to play the Winnipeg Jets again in pretty short order here. It'll be the last game of their 6-game road trip, which starts on Thursday in St. Louis. A massive, massive game against Bennington and the Blues coming up. And Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson are going to have to be difference makers. Maybe they don't have to be the best forward duo in the NHL, but if this team is going to make the postseason, those two have to be difference makers. And I'm believing that they can be difference makers. You know why? Because they were difference makers as babyface young boys in the NHL. I was looking back at what their stats were around the time I wrote that article for Nucks Misconduct. And this is the stats from, the beginning of the 2018 season to January 1st, 2019. Elias Pettersson at the time had 39 points in 36 games. Brock Boeser had missed some time with injury, but he had 26 points in 29 games, including 14 goals in those 29 games. At that time, even though neither of these guys had a lot of NHL experience, they were already playing at a first-line level. As rookies, as a rookie and a sophomore, I should say. And if they were able to do that then with very little NHL experience under their belt, why can't they do it now? And maybe last night was the start of things to come for your Vancouver Canucks. And it's interesting looking into the numbers between Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser. So with Elias Pettersson in particular, not just in his rookie season, but over his first 3 years in the NHL, including the bubble season run, including the North Division season, in which he only played half the year, his points per game with Brock, when he was on the ice with Brock Boeser, was at 2.83. That would stand as one of the best marks in the NHL over that time. And it makes sense because Elias Pettersson was one of the most efficient, even strength players in the NHL. And of course, JT Miller was in the fold for a lot of that. But it's interesting. You look at those numbers over Pettersson's first 3 years, and his primary winger, the guy he played with the most, was Brock Boeser. And of course, that has changed over the past couple of seasons. But even if you look at the numbers over the past 3 years, Elias Pettersson's still at 2.1 points per 60 at even strength when he's on the ice with Brock Boeser. Brock Boeser. And those numbers are inflated a bit by not a lot of playing time together, right? Pettersson played with mainly other wingers. And they were efficient in their minutes, right? We had that, the 1 month run in January of last year where Pettersson and Miller and Boeser, the ladder line reunited, and they put up a ton of points despite not really, controlling possession or dominating possession wise. They were just extremely efficient when they had the biscuit on their stick. But this season has been a different story. It just has not worked with Pettersson and Boeser on the ice up until last night. I mean, both these guys have just been ghosts offensively, and that is a huge part of the problem here. And I mentioned it last night, I'll mention it again, just aside from the stats for a second. I do think a big reason why they have struggled since the JT Miller trade is whatever happened behind the scenes with JT Miller, it's clear that he was an alpha in that room. And he was a leader for guys like Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson. And now that he's gone from the team, in terms of the forward group, the Canucks were probably looking for Boeser and Pettersson to step up as leaders. And look, these guys have had the A's at points on their jersey. Obviously, Pettersson wears an A full-time. Brock Boeser had his A taken away temporarily after the trade deadline. I mean, March of 2025 has been a very topsy-turvy month for Brock Boeser. Hopefully can end on a high here as the Canucks go on a 6-game road trip. But again, there's been a leadership void with JT Miller gone. And, Pettersson and Boeser aren't particularly used to being the big dogs for the team and in the dressing room. And now that JT Miller's not there, perhaps it took them a bit of time to kind of take the reins and be those guys. Because again, it's an intangible thing, but when you have an alpha dog like Miller as a leader in that dressing room in terms of the forwards for 5 seasons, and all of a sudden you're asked to be the guy, things like that don't just happen overnight. And I know we obviously are going to harp on those guys. They're making the big bucks. But now I think this is a time for Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson to truly emerge as leaders. And maybe after tonight or after last night, Kyle, they're ready to do so.
We'll see, man. Deja vu. That's what it feels like. The hope and faith for these two to be that dynamic duo that, inevitably replaced Henrik and Daniel, the thought of ours years and years and years ago. I can't believe it's coming back to fruition, mainly based on desperation and logistics too, right? There's no JT Miller, so we can kind of see Boeser and Pettersson again. And it's interesting to note that there was like a long time there where these two didn't have any chemistry. And again, it's only been one game where they showed some slights of it. But in the past, before last night's game, Trevor, why do you think their chemistry kind of disappeared?
I think a big part of it, Kyle, is both of them have been lacking the foot speed, right? I think when Pettersson had his speed, he was able to create plays by just being quicker than most guys on the ice. And Brock Boeser, never been the quickest guy in the world. So when they were playing together, they relied on a guy it was on Elias Pettersson to create that speed and create that separation. And then they had a guy like JT Miller, who was a very good playmaker as well, and brought some physicality to the line. Now, with Pettersson not being as fast as he was in the past, I do think having a guy like Nils Höglander on that line not only doesn't make sense, but it's a bit of a must for me, Kyle. And not to say Boeser and Pettersson can't succeed without Nils Höglander, but you need a guy with speed to play with them, especially if Pettersson's not back to his skating form where he was one of the fastest guys in the NHL. And you kind of saw the speed of Nils Höglander on that line last night too, what he brings to the table when he has the puck on his stick, the forechecking ability. Like, he's not as skilled as JT Miller, especially in the playmaking department, but he brings speed and he brings tenacity. And I think that's needed on a line with Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson to make it work. I think Nils Höglander is the best guy to play there right now. And Kyle, we've said it before and we'll say it again. Every day is no. Rick Tocchet, I think, is in a situation right now where he shouldn't be juggling the lines. If they have a bad period, keep them together for a stretch here. I know it's crunch time. I know the Canucks got to make the playoffs, but see if they can play through it, because I think that the best way that this Canucks roster can have success this season is by having a top line of Pettersson, Boeser, and Nils Höglander.
Yeah, having that and then connecting that with, one of the best decors in hockey could equate to, again, winning one round in the playoffs. And I just heard Thomas Drance on the radio before I came in. I think like Canucks talk is happening right now with the crossover with Drance and Rick Dollywall. And he was saying something like, oh, what, the bar's too low if you want meaningful games in March. I want meaningful games in May and June. And it's making me think about a lot of the rhetoric that, we've been spewing, because we've been like, at least we have meaningful games in March. This matters. And I just like to continue to double down on that. Like, one step at a time, Thomas. Okay, I want those meaningful games in May and June too. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel as if there is that combination of having one good line, good defense, good goaltending that gets us through, again, this. How do I say this, Trevor? Because this is like unfamiliar territory for Canucks fans. You kind of mentioned this, right? I feel like it's been since Harold Druken that we've been in this predicament where it's like, we might clinch the playoffs in game 81 or game 82. When does it happen as a Canucks fan? I feel like the last time it happened, we didn't make the playoffs. It was like 2006, where like the Oilers made it during game 81, game 82.
Yeah, I think it was
like
Trevor Linden's last game in 2008. We just missed, I think, a day or two before the season ended.
So again, like, I know, having, one good line isn't going to win you a Stanley Cup, but looking at the importance of gaining that playoff experience, and also just, showing Quinn Hughes some hope and faith, like, we could do this with one number one line. And with Hedl out too, like, you kind of need this happening. Like, you need Boeser and Pettersson to be Henrik and Daniel like.
Yeah. And again, like, and let us know in the comments what you feel. What is the ceiling for Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson? Because we haven't seen anything close to their ceiling, especially playing together for an extended stretch of time in quite some time. But the skill is there for them to be, bona fide top line players. And frankly, if the Canucks are going to make noise beyond March and mid-April, they're going to need these guys to be top line players. Kyle, let's cut to break here. On the other side, let's get to some news and notes. I want to get to some quotes about Brock Boeser from Quinn Hughes. We'll touch on the Canucks signing. Maybe we'll touch on the NHL owner rankings as well. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day. We'll be back on the other side after showing it our friends over at Game Time and Monarch Money. Now, Kyle, I already broke the Canucks ticket budget until mid-April, unless something drastic happens. But I got to save the pennies now to get tickets for the Canucks in the playoffs, because I haven't been to a playoff game at Rogers Arena since 2012. It's been a long time. And I know that the best place to find those tickets is on Game Time, baby. All right? There's nothing like the energy of the crowd, the sound of the fans yelling, waving the white flags. Let's go, baby. And I know I want to catch that in person for the first time since my balls dropped. Unbelievable. And I know on Game Time, they got that new feature, Game Time Picks. It'll filter out the fluff and show me only the best deals on great seats, so I don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. And I just checked the Game Time app last week when I got those Utah tickets, and I did find some amazing deals on that game. Like, that's why we went to the game, baby. Let's go. So make sure whatever you're buying, whether it's Canucks tickets or something else, take the guess we're going to buy those tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Man, oh man. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where the F did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, concert tickets, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances, baby. Monarch Money, it's so much more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Cha-ching! When I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I deleted skip the dishes from my phone. I budget smarter, and I save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year, baby.
Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Trevor Beggs, the second best dad in the world, and Kyle Bowen over here at the Don't Doze Art Lab, giving you that West Coast bias and reading your comments. Okay, Mike Laval, again, primetime Discord contributor, joined the Discord link in the bio saying Elias Bowen showed up. Okay, I showed up late today. Got past the 5-minute warm up there. I'm ready to kill the rest of this podcast. And yes, Elias Bowen, man, my new nickname. Again, I saved Elias Pettersson's career ever since the tendonitis report came up, ever since I compared him to Henrik and Daniel Sedin, right? You know what I'm saying? Trevor? Hey, man, the good energy, man. Wish for something. Hey, Trevor, make a wish right now. Un-Canuck related, okay? And make it PG, please.
Oh, God. That's like all my wishes, man. I wish for my brother Kyle Bowen on his 32nd birthday to have the best birthday of all time, man. Let's go.
There you go, man.
There you go.
Round two, game 5, 2025. Potentially. Who knows who the Canucks will be playing? But again, after what we saw yesterday, the faith, the hope, the intensity from my heart to you is real. Okay, I really think the Vancouver Canucks, can make the playoffs and make noise in one round. Okay, real talk. The next comment. And I know, Trevor, you want to get to news and notes, but Carmen, man, making me think, okay? Can't wait to see Tom Willander in the lineup this season. Trevor, we spent some time in the first segment talking about, the Canucks, in theory, don't have a lot of depth, especially with Hedl out, okay? So stacking up a first line and getting the most out of Pettersson, Boeser, and Höglander is best case for, again, a team that does not score a lot of goals, okay? So you use that top line, you lean on the defense, you lean on good goaltending, a lot of things can happen. Speaking of leaning on the defense, okay, I was thinking about this on my drive to the studio as well. We don't have the forward depth. I know we don't. And until Pettersson really, really wakes up, dude, we're really far away from having, anything really in the forward department. But man, this defense is looking good, bro. It's looking good. And I don't know if Jigatonic is telling me the truth, but he posted in the comments that the Canucks may have like the 8th youngest team in the league. And I keep thinking about their defense too. I'm like, Mancini one day, DP the other, boom, bam. Quinn Hughes is still only 25 years old. It's like, this is something else. Now, Tom Willander might play in a couple of weeks. Like, we may not have the forward depth, but I'm telling you, the Canucks may have the chance to have the best defensive core in all of hockey going into next season.
Hey, man, let's go, brother. I love it.
And I know that's asking. Okay. I know that's asking for a lot because Quinn Hughes, Philip Hronek, they do their thing. Marcus Pettersson struggling over his last couple of games, sort of. Tyler Myers is still Tyler Myers. Derek Forbort playing like a really good penalty killer, doing his thing. And then you got like Willander, Mancini, DP. You have still so much to prove, but I don't know, man. Underfoot and under Quinn Hughes, I think they could get it together, man. ASAP.
Yeah, I believe so too. And look, Tom Willander, the NCAA playoffs are kind of confusing to me. I'm not going to lie. He does play a game tomorrow for Boston University. I think if they lose that game, they may be eliminated, but I'll try to figure that out for tomorrow's show here on Locked On Canucks. But regardless, he could be playing for the games for the Canucks in short order. I would be pretty surprised if they did not sign him in burning year of his ELC. Get him with the team now. Be really, I think, good for his development to be around a team in a playoff push. I think there's less concern now about the cap and what you might pay him as well. So I think Tom Willander, I think he's going to play NHL games this season. Be interesting to see how they use him if the Canucks are in a race as tight as this one. And like Jigatron is saying in the comments, we got Junior, DPD, Tom Willander, and Mancini kind of as our 6th defenseman right now because Derek Forbort, not a sexy guy, but he deserves to be in the lineup. Obviously, Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers, Philip Hronek, Quinn Hughes. So you got 3 young guys who are fighting for spots. So maybe that's an argument to why they don't sign Willander. But again, I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't sign him. I expect him to sign and probably play in NHL games towards the end of the season here.
Yeah. And I feel like they want to do that. This is a bit of the wild card because I know I just bragged about this defense. But I don't see Forbort. It's 2 things. I don't see Forbort leaving the lineup. And if there's been a player that's proven me wrong more so than Derek Forbort this year, Derek Yogurt, what's his name? Darren? Is it Darren or Derek? Anyways, it's him. Forbort's been really, really strong for the 4th best penalty killing unit in hockey, and that's essential. So I think they're going to keep him. So I feel as if, and I don't know, Patrick Alvin said he doesn't want to make trades involving his D-men, but they may want to see what they have in Willander ASAP. Not to say that they'll move off of him if he's struggling, because they can develop in the AHL and whatever, but maybe, just maybe, it's because they could trade, DPD maybe, or Mancini or whatever, to bring in some forward depth. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there could be options, because then you got a surplus. Like, who's the other guy? Curry Kurilasev from the Abs. What? Why are you laughing?
Kirill Kudryavtsev.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that guy's down there too. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a lot of options, and then you can start building packages and whatnot. And at the end of the day, Trevor, like, again, we talk about the forward depth. Like, we don't have a surplus of draft picks too, so it's gonna have to be moves like that get that thing going at the top of your lineup when it comes to the forward group. And yo, dude, now that I'm speaking out loud, Trevor, I know you want to get to news and notes. Like, I wonder if they're gonna trade Willander for some forward depth. Honestly. Like, cause he could swing you a superstar. I don't know. I don't know. Because, like, they have DP, they have Mancini, they have Curry Karasilev. I
almost think they're more likely to trade a guy like, it's a good question. Just based on Alvin, his comments about not even wanting to trade DPD, Sawyer Minio, or Kirill Kudryavtsev makes it seem very, very unlikely that they would trade Tom Willander. I almost wonder if it's more likely that they trade, I don't know, Tyler Myers to make space, or Phil Peronic. But I know the argument, right? This team probably needs more offensive punch. And one of the only ways to do that is or one of the easy ways to do that, I guess, is to trade from the defense, right? It doesn't get talked about because I don't think we're trading this guy, but Phil Peronic, much like Elias Pettersson, his no move clause doesn't kick in until next season. So he has no trade protection right now. I'm not saying I can actually trading Phil Peronic, but I just think, like, Kyle, I'll pose it to you. Like, would you, between Peronic or Willander, if they're going to trade a guy this offseason to bolster the offense, who would you trade?
Peronic, because I'm a big believer in Willander. But honestly,
exactly.
Like, Hronik's been so solid this year too. You just got to give to get, right? Because it's not like the Canucks are in need of another Filipino, or in need of, like, when you're talking about forward depth, like, it's not like, oh, they need Tyler Toffoli. Like, no, they need a legitimate guy to go behind Pettersson. Right. And again, news and notes brought to you by Trevor. Boom, man. Just pretend the segment already went. I haven't read your notes yet. But, speaking about the whole center position thing, like, dude, like, I texted you this morning in the group chat, and I want the people to help decide with me, because I feel like it's a must do for the Vancouver Canucks. Like, again, talking about the forward depth, talking about, like, needing to add players to this team. Yo, you don't want to remove Pius Suter from this lineup. Like, he's a must sign at this point, especially because he can play center as well. His metrics show that, again, he's like a legitimate good player to have on your team. Trevor, what's the number for 20 goal scorer Pius Suter? Because you got to sign this guy more so than Brock Besser.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? I mean, you see some numbers out there, and I think it would range from the floor being $3 million, the absolute floor, to potentially being as high as $5 million. Like, some of the numbers from the Athletic suggest that this is a $4.5 to $5 million player based on, his middle six scoring profile and his elite defensive metrics, and he's a top penalty killer for this team. Like, Kyle, I said this number a couple of weeks ago, and I think you and the listeners kind of laughed at me, but I think kind of around $4 million is around the market value for Pius Suter right now. And yeah, I think the Canucks want to keep him right now. Yeah, I was doing some crunching on the cap numbers today. So just to bring listeners up to speed. So maybe I'll touch on this. We'll do news and notes tomorrow. But, right now the Canucks, based on my projections, have, 80, let's call it 80.5 million tied up next season, and 11 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. With the cap going up to 95.95 million, that gives them $15 million to play with. All right. Now, with Boeser and Suter, it depends if you want to keep both those guys, but could you get both those guys for $10 million? It seems unlikely, but if you did, that would be pretty good value for Boeser and Suter. That gives you 5.5 to play with. You still need probably a depth defender, Tom Willander, in there as well. So there's not a lot of money left over. But Kyle, I guess this is a bigger picture question, but what do the Canucks prioritize this offseason? Do you look at keeping guys like Boeser and Suter and not have much other money to play with? Or do you keep Suter and go big game hunting? Like, where are your thoughts are right now on free agency?
You do Pius Suter, then you go big game hunting. Like, the Canucks, how are you going to replace Pius Suter? You lost JT Miller and Pius Suter in the same season. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, legit. And you don't, like, again, like, and the Philip Hedl injury has something to do with making sure you sign P. Suter. I'm not saying he's a Philip Hedl, a prime Philip Hedl replacement. No, he isn't. But for next year, you need that center depth, Trevor. And I just don't know what Philip Hedl is. We don't know when he's coming back. Is there any notes on that, Trevor? Like, you got anything for me there? Exactly. We don't know. He don't know. So again, Pius Suter's the first guy you got to sign, and I wouldn't be surprised if that sign or that extension happens in a couple of days, Trevor. My sources, aka my intuition, is telling me it's a 4-year deal worth around $18 million.
Yeah, so $4.5 million per season. There you go. Yeah, Pius Suter is going to be making the big bucks soon enough for your Vancouver Canucks. Let's wrap up the rest of the free agency team building discussion on the other side. Get us some comments, maybe a couple news and notes as well. You listen to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day. We'll be back on the other side after shouting at our friends over at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time, baby. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. It's fast and easy, baby. Posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, multiple qualified candidates are there for you to choose from. So make sure you visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's on UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business, not yesterday, but today.
Wow, grow it today, man, with Upwork. Okay, we back to win this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, Trevor Begg, second best down in the world, Kyle Bowen, just a regular Findu, and you, leaving a lot of comments. So let's start reading them. Look at this, man. Mike Laval is just bringing the heat today, okay? Move Myers this offseason and sign Ehlers, okay? So I want to ask you this question. I know Myers has been good this season. Okay, but we're talking about, having so much defenseman, and maybe we could use the $3 million in extra cap space. Heck, maybe we could use the room to allow different leaders to step up for this team. And man, oh man, Trevor, do you need Petey and Tyler Myers on the same team? When you have all these other guys like Tom Willander coming up and Petey and Mancini and all that, answer me that question, Trevor.
I mean, long-term, absolutely not. I would say short-term, a lot of it depends on Tom Willander, right? Because you take Myers out of the equation, and now your depth on the right side is Hronek, Mancini, and Tom Willander, right? Like, can one of those guys play top 4 minutes? Look, I know that none of us feel great about Tyler Myers, in a top 4 role regardless. Even though he's played better this season, he's played better under Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote. But I mean, come on, we said at the time, like the 3 years, $3 million, the no move clause, like it wasn't something the Canucks really needed to do. We weren't a huge fan of it at the time. Yeah. So yeah, the Canucks, of course, they can live without Tyler Myers, but to truly feel good about it, you'd really want to know what you have in Tom Willander first.
Yeah, and again, we can't give our opinions based on that comment so much show without again, just like understanding and appreciating what Tyler Myers has given us this season, because he's been worth more than that $3 million, Trevor, based on where we've been and the injuries and whatnot. And I'm not saying this guy's played like a $6 million defenseman, but sometimes he looks like a $4.5 million defenseman, Trevor. Like sometimes he's been like solid. Like he's looking very similar to what he looked like last November, December, January. He's looking good. So again, I want to give him credit. I just think this team's gonna have some difficult decisions, and I know like these guys have two-way deals, right? Like Mancini, DPD, Tom Willander, like they don't gotta play with the big club, but part of me feels like we'll be better if like both DPD and Tom Willander are part of the everyday equation with the Vancouver Canucks. I really do.
Yeah, and there's obviously going to be growing pains too, right? Like especially if this team is playing DPD, Victor Mancini, and Tom Willander in the lineup. And I mean, how does it even look like right now with the veterans on the team? It doesn't really seem possible unless there's injuries. But there's a lot of youth on the blue line for the Vancouver Canucks. But
I wonder.
all three guys are looking like NHL players, and I think Mancini probably has the biggest questions in terms of, is he a true everyday NHLer or not? I know we're pretty confident in DPD and a guy in Willander who has yet to even sign an NHL contract, but the future is bright on this blue line. And again, that's why I think some of the talk now is, how do you improve this offense in the offseason, right? And I know, Kyle, I don't know how we got here after a 6-2 win last night. We're already talking about the offseason, but it is obviously the biggest problem with this team, right? The way that they lack consistent production on offense. They need to address that in the offseason. And it makes me want to get to another comment here just to stir things up more here on Locked On Canucks. Gigatronic with a comment here. I see Pius Suter as a solid third-line center who can move up. And again, we're saying we got to keep Pius Suter. We got to keep Pius Suter. Then Filipino. Here's the thing, though. Like with Filipino and Pius Suter, you can kind of say the same thing. Like solid 3Cs who can move up. And obviously Filipino, a much different player, has a higher offensive ceiling than Pius Suter, but he has yet to be a true second-line center at the NHL level. Pius Suter has been a good second-line center as a fill-in guy. It's a full-time guy, maybe not so much. And then let's even throw an Atu Ratu into the equation, someone who projects to be a 3C. So right now the Canucks are just loaded up on 3Cs, but the goal of this offseason, it has to be to find another guy to play center. And that's why, again, that guy just really isn't out there in free agency. And what are you willing to give him in a trade to get that guy? That's why I think one of the commenters about trading Willander in a first, that's why it's a conversation right now. Yeah. Not from me, but from listeners.
I wonder if they sign Jamie Benn and move him to center.
Man, that's a cold take, bro. I know he's a BC bud, but anyone who disrespects the Sedins publicly, go get your head checked. I don't care if it was 10 years ago. How awkward would that be? Jamie Benn making jokes with the Sedins, and then next thing you know, he signs with the Canucks, and Sedins are helping him on the player development side. I mean, that could be awkward, man.
Yeah, it could be. Next comment. Carmen asking, the real question is, or the real comment is Rick Tocchet even coming back?
Do you think it's much of a debate?
I think he's earned a contract, to be honest. And again, trauma-licious year, all over the place. And again, I'm not gonna give him the free pass on what our offense has looked like this year, even though I've blamed more of that on Miller and Pettersson and those guys struggling and Boeser struggling. It's their fault. It's their fault more so than Rick Tocchet. That being said, a lot of irony and everything to do with the offense with the Vancouver Canucks was, again, back in September, back in August, what was Rick Tocchet saying? He's going to open it up. He lied to us, okay? Or he just can't coach it. I don't know. I blame the players more. That being said, that culture that he's trying to build, that connection he has with Quinn Hughes and his coaching staff, I just feel like it's so important to just keep it going for another couple of years. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be bouncing all over the place from coach to coach. Rick Tocchet did well last year. Yeah, we make the playoffs this year. You can't argue that he did well again this year because we're talking about a Canucks team that never makes the playoffs. Keep Rick Tocchet.
Yeah, I think this management group loves Rick Tocchet. They've spoken glowingly about him on a number of occasions. And I think Rick Tocchet wants to be in Vancouver. So I don't think it's much of a debate. I'm pretty convinced that Tocchet's coming back. I know he's got the 1-year option, but I think they're going to get an extension done with Rick Tocchet. Here's how long it's going to be, because shelf lives of coaches are short. Obviously, you get the contract, you just get paid regardless. But I would be interested to see if Rick Tocchet signs a 3-year deal with the Vancouver Canucks. I think that's something that could make sense for this team, this core, where they're headed. Anything more than 3 years, I think, would be a bit interesting, just because we don't see a lot of coaches past that 3-year mark.
You know what I think? Okay, well, let's end on this now because it's going to get super dark. And it's ironic because your last note was Canucks ownership isn't the worst. I don't know why are you saying that? Was there a poll?
You have to find out tomorrow now. I mean, I had all these news notes lined up, then you joined the show, but I would rather talk to you, buddy. Read my notes.
Okay. So I watched this video from Blue Line Hockey. Does anyone know who that is? It's another YouTube channel. He does good work. And he went over the sale of the Vancouver Canucks in 2004. And it scared me, man. Well, Aquilini sometimes scares me. What does that have to do? What was the last thing you said before I went on my spiel? Because I was going to connect it. What did you say?
About the news and notes.
No, not about the news and notes. About like, what were we even talking about?
Who knows, man?
I brought up Aquilini because he just scares me. Okay, that's all I'm saying. He scares me, and we need Quinn Hughes. Oh, no, now I know. Now I know why I brought it up. Rick Tocchet wants a 3-year deal, 4-year deal. I wonder if Aquilini wants to make him the most expensive coach in the world. Because I think Rick Tocchet's going to be asking for that based on leverage. Okay, I won Coach of the Year, and there's a new standard of how much coaches get paid, and I could also get paid by TNT, to work like a couple days a week. So I want this much money, and I'm going to be the highest paid coach in hockey. I wonder if Aquilini, again, go watch that video from Blue Line Hockey, because he had some quotes back in 04 or 05 that scared the shit out of me, okay? I wonder if Aquilini wants to buckle up and pay a coach that much money. And I think that might be the underlining thing that nobody's talking about and why that deal hasn't gotten done yet. Okay?
There we go, man. And that's by Francesco Aquilini.
Okay, I'll find the video title. Trevor, end off the show. Or unless you want to rebuttal off of that.
No. I the only thing I'll say is the reason I had that note, maybe we'll get into it more tomorrow. Aquilini, according to a survey at The Athletic, and it's a fan survey and a survey of their own staff, had Francesco Aquilini as the second worst owner in the NHL, only ahead of Terry Pacula and the Buffalo Sabres. So,
shut the fuck up. Okay, bro. Honestly, I don't even want to. Okay, go watch this video. The dramatic court case that doomed the Canucks forever. Okay, from Blue Line Hockey. Leave it. Go in the comments. Let them know that Kyle and Trevor sent you. And honestly, watch this. But hug your girlfriend, hug your mom, hug somebody that you love, because this is a scary video. Because there was a quote in that kind of leads to what Trevor just said about this guy being the second worst owner in hockey. Now I'm scared. Okay, sign us out. How did this episode get so dark? We won 6-2 last night, Trevor.
Yeah, and the Canucks were one game away from winning the Stanley Cup with Francesco Aquilini in charge. So, hey, anything can happen in sports. Anything can happen here on Locked On Canucks. We don't even know what's going to happen, but make sure you stay tuned for the ride. Go like and subscribe on YouTube on the podcast site. Go follow us and leave a 5-star review. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.